Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll with Artark from the PBE. So remember, everything is subject to change, although I think this one is pretty stable. Before we get totally into it, this is the part where I beg you, like, comment, subscribe, do all of the things that help the YouTube algorithm, keeps the channel growing. It'll be fun for everyone involved. And with that said, let's get started. Now, I haven't talked about the carousel before, but I do want to mention it. The bow is probably one of the better items to get because it fits into a whole ton of builds that you can do, including some that you can force. If you're doing Animaniacs, it's absolutely key for Jinx. If you are doing Recon Brawlers, it's a really key item that can go on either Ashe or Vayne, not necessarily Kai'Sa, but it works on a lot of things. Since right now we don't know exactly what we're doing with this build, we roll. Thrill of the Hunt, well, it can pretty much fit into anything. It's not a same level of burst healing as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. Right now, no clue exactly what I'm doing. I'm kind of leaning towards short shots because I did manage to get a Sivir out of the initial round, but I'm not exactly sure if I want to roll down or hold gold and then see what I can get. I ultimately decide to hold gold because I have three pretty decent champs, and it would depend who I went against as to whether I had a chance or not. They have a 2-star Kayle, so it's unlikely I'm going to win. I have a small chance because I have Thrill of the Hunt, and Sivir is likely going to bring herself back to full, but I'm still facing a 2-star Kayle who's going to be able to do enough damage to take me out. So I'm going to take you through the crazy logic that led to this choice. I was originally thinking short shot and picked up the Negatron cloak to make a Bloodthirster. I decide when I see Lee Sin sitting there that I can head over into Recon Brawlers. This will give me 2 Brawlers, and I can just use Jinx right now to hold the Bloodthirster for what will eventually likely be Vayne. So I'm going to run you through the next few fights quickly as I try to struggle with what am I going to do with this build, because I'm not getting the champions I'd normally expect to get. I haven't seen an Ezreal. I wouldn't necessarily expect to see everything right now, but I'm just not getting any recons besides a single Ashe. I've bought and sold one a couple of times, but at this point I decided to kind of see if maybe I can get really lucky and do something I don't advise anyone to do, and that is try and force threat. So I'm holding most of my gold at this point until I get into stage 5 so I can roll and then hopefully get a bunch of the 3-cost threat champions. I've looked through the other boards in between rounds and no one else seems to be focusing on that. With Thrill of the Hunt, I think I'd have a good shot if I can get the champions I need. And although I was already thinking that, Gary's coworker Ava made it pretty clear when they gave me the gold threat augment, which gives you additional health for each threat on the board. I now know that ultimately those items are going to go onto a Bel'veth, but I have to get her first. So for the moment, I put them on Lee Sin just as an item holder and go searching for any threats I can find. Anyone who plays threats regularly will know that they have now nerfed that augment down to 75 health per threat, but that also it has not impacted the overall build in a major way. It's just as powerful now as it was then, maybe just they got a little bit less out of it, but you're still safe to go this if the game shows you it. I did get lucky between rounds and got myself a Bel'veth and then picked up an Aurelion Soul and immediately make the Archangel Staff for Aurelion Soul. I want to hit this from both angles with both AD and AP. As you can see, Bel'veth does not need a Rage Blade to pick up attack speed. It is part of her ult and she will be extremely powerful even without it. And just to quickly show Bel'veth's ult, as you can see, each time it is cast, she gains 25 bonus attack speed for the rest of combat. So you do not need a Rage Blade on Bel'veth in this game. Right now I am running extremely lucky because I got my 2 4 cost key threats early, so I'm able to take over these mid-game matches. I'm hoping to get another bow so that I can make a rapid fire cannon for Bel'veth, and then more AP items for Aurelion Sol. The game, however, had some other ideas, and with my last shot at individual items, I did not get the bow I was looking for. And then, insult to injury, no threat hero augment. The Jax augment is a carry Jax build, not doing that. The Sona augment is a good one for a heart build, but will not be really that useful here. I can ultimately make use of the Kai'Sa augment because it will transfer some attack speed to whoever she's near, but it is not immediately necessary that I put her in. I'm likely to get more use out of Janna at this point, at least until I can get a 2-star Kai'Sa. I have a great advantage here because I got those early 4s, and they are allowing me to stay way ahead of everyone else. I had also checked through and made sure nobody else seemed to be going threat, at least at this time, so as you can see, I'm getting close to a gold Rammus, and as you can also see, much like in Summoners, a fully itemized Bel'veth is an absolute menace on the screen. While rapid fire would be ideal, that last whisper is allowing her to just tear through people. We have the next 2 item choices coming up, and if you go fast enough before the round ends, you can avoid the bug, so I gave it a shot. I'm still was testing things out at this point to see what would trigger what. It's generally safer to wait for the items to come up before you open that anvil, but I was just testing to see how that would work. My goal here is to keep Kai'Sa fairly close to Bel'veth so that she's transferring her attack speed bonus over to her. I'm still also hoping to get another Bel'veth and then take her up to 2 stars. And if you think Bel'veth was a menace before, just take a look at her now. Up at 2 stars, she is able to just slide through the opposing team and take people out. This combination of items helps her break through any armor resistance and just finish front lines and back lines off. And I just want to stress again that one of the keys here is as I looked through the other parts of the lobby, I didn't see anyone focusing on threats, so I felt it was safe to pivot over, that I would have the opportunity to get the champions I want. You need 4 and 5 costs to make this ultimately work, and you need to make sure you're going to be clear to get them. But this victory brings us into the top 4 and gets our 2-star Aurelion Sol. For our penultimate item choice, we can either go with tank or with more damage. With what we have enough damage. It is time to continue to tank up the front line. Everything you can goes on Rammus until you run out of items. Morellonomicon is perfect for Fiddle since we have him in now. All we need is Urgot. There's 2 of them, and it's time to just realize the hero augment is not really doing us any significant good. Janna is performing much better in a role, providing critical CC, and in order to keep everything clean, we just dump the hero augment. But to be honest, it's really not concerning me at this point because Bel'veth is able to get in there and do so much damage, especially once Janna knocks them up. As you can see, Fiddle similarly is able to just tear through the opposing teams. And while I was able to get a 2-star Urgot, I wasn't able to roll and grab fast enough to get my Fiddle up to 2 stars, so I'm going in just 1 2-star short of where I really want to be. And while Fiddle is able to do an absolute ton of damage, it's not quite enough to help us finish this game off. While Janna has some incredible CC and helps buff your team early on, the one disadvantage is you have to clump, but I decided to take full advantage of it by pulling everyone into the same corner, because in the last round I was able to get picked apart. My hope is exactly what happened, that Bel'veth would slide to the outside and start attacking people there, essentially isolating their strongest players, which is what she does so well and is able to finish off the match. Please, don't try to force this unless you see no one else is touching it. Usually someone does, and then you're in trouble. But I hope you enjoyed this video and have an absolutely awesome day.